Unfortunately, I have been banned, blocked, suspended from my Facebook page, Penuel the Black Pen. So I'm making this video live from YouTube. I think this is going to be my third live video from YouTube. I think the first two I did were really not great. And I'm not really sure how this one's going to turn out, but I'm going to give it a shot and see how it goes. So I'm banned, suspended, blocked from Facebook for 30 days because I posted a tweet regarding the sentencing of Sibongile Mani. Sibongile Mani is the student in South Africa who has been sentenced to 5 years for spending 818,000 Rand of the 14 million Rand that she received erroneously from NSFAS, the National Student Financial Aid Scheme. So what I've done is that I've made a tweet saying that she has not received justice. I agree that what she's done is wrong, but this is not the way to do it, and that there's no justice in this country or in this country's legal system. And what I'd said in effect is that we need to burn the prisons and we need to burn the courts. So I tweeted that, I took a screenshot of that tweet, I uploaded it on my Facebook page, and Facebook said that I was inciting vandalism and decided to ban me for 30 days. It's not the first time that Facebook is banning me, unfortunately. Last year, I think I was banned for like six times for like 30 days at a time. It's just a lesson for me that Facebook is not my mama's house. Facebook is Mark Zuckerberg's house, and I need to abide by Mark Zuckerberg's rules, so to speak. So I'm going to tread more carefully. And I've made a video about this before, that we need to sidestep the algorithms. What that means is that in future, if I'm going to write something of an emotive nature, I need to reread it and then see if there's anything that might be picked up as hate speech, inciting violence, inciting vandalism, maybe pushing people to suicide or whatever. Then I probably need to misspell those words, because that's how you kind of win. You misspell the words. I mean, if I'd written, let's ban the prisons and the courts, but I'd spelt it B-H-E-N instead of B-U-R-N, I probably would have gotten away with it. And the people that were reading it were probably going to get what I'm trying to say. Quite sad, but it is what it is. This morning, I want to speak about human collaboration, and then I want to touch a bit on Julius Malema and young leadership. Spent the weekend in Durban with my family, my mother, my brother, my sister, which was quite nice. It was our first official family holiday that we've had. It was interesting. We got to know a bit more about each other, which was pretty great. My mom was extremely happy. She loves having her children around her. My third-born son, Ushaka, turned 5 last week, Tuesday on the 29th. I think it was Tuesday, 29th of March. So his mom had bought cake, and we celebrated with him on Saturday as well. And we got to see his younger sister, my second daughter, Unkanyezi, culture, which was pretty special for me as well. And as we were traveling around Durban, obviously I was looking at the beauty of Durban. We were having a lot of conversations. My family engages a lot. I talk. My brother talks a lot. And my sister, I think within her spaces as well, talks quite a bit. So we had a lot of stimulating conversations, intellectual discussions, especially as we were walking along the beach in Mhlanga and walking along South Beach as well in Durban. And I found myself being inspired again by a term that I'd raised on the Hustlers Corner podcast that I'm doing with DJ Smooth, where I was speaking about human collaboration. I think I spoke about this fondly when we were in Belito yesterday. I've been through a journey in my life. I'm 36 years old, not too old, but I'm not young anymore. And officially in South Africa, I'm no longer qualified as youth. The youth ends at 35. But I've had a roller coaster ride in my life, especially from a psychological perspective, especially from an identity perspective. What does it mean to be Black? What does it mean to be South African? What does it mean to be Zulu, to be Christian, etc., etc. All these things, all these labels that we're given when we're young, that we can't really fight. And for most people, that imprison them for the rest of their lives. For me, because I'm God, I challenge these things, and I've left the Zulu tribe. I've said this before, it's upset a lot of people. I've tried to unpack what that means. I left Christianity back in 2006, which some people seem to understand. because we're woke now and we understand that you can leave your religious beliefs and join other religious beliefs. And I've created my own religion of penalism, which is pretty cool. And because my brand is growing, of which I'm very blessed, humbled, grateful for, people are starting to recognize me in the streets. Really makes me feel good that people are listening to me. Makes me feel good that I'm influencing and impacting minds out there, because that is my ultimate goal. Not to be wealthy in terms of money, but to be wealthy in terms of influencing minds, especially for the better. You know, I say tongue in cheek that my goal is to colonize as many minds as possible. I want to capture minds and unplug them from the systems that control them out there. Religion, schooling system, politics, money, your family dynamics, your culture. I want you to plug into me and listen to me and have me sort of dictate how you should see the world. Like through my words and through language, I can put on these spectacles that make you see the world in a completely different way. So I'm inspired and I'm very happy. And it's cool meeting these people, and I'm hoping to meet more people. And it reminded me that I need to get on with working. I need to build my religion. I need to take it more seriously, number one. And number two, I need to focus on hosting seminars in Joburg, especially, but also Durban, Cape Town, places like Gqeberha, Port Elizabeth, East London, and where possible, places like Bloemfontein, Nelspruit, Polokwane, Kimberley, Rustenburg, Mahikeng, you know, where I can find my people, you know, and connect with them and build with them and sculpt their minds and take their questions and see how I can unlock their minds so that they can live a better life. Human collaboration. Human collaboration. Human collaboration is where I started my life, going to what we call white schools, ex-model C, speaking the good Queen's English, and then obviously getting to tertiary, Rhodes University in particular, where I became Black conscious, started studying the Black leaders, not just in South Africa, but in Africa and the rest of the world. Angry at white people, you know, to a point where years later I'd go and found the Buy Black movement in South Africa. And I try my best in my little way to be a leader for Black people and Black liberation. And then almost coming back full circle now to realizing it's not about race. And in building penalism, realizing it's not about race, it's about human character. It's about finding people that share your values, finding people that understand things the way you understand them, and building with them, regardless of race, regardless of gender, regardless of culture, regardless of religion. You know, the example I gave my brother when I was speaking about human collaboration, because I spoke about this to DJ Sbu and I was talking about the idea of you have a cell phone. Let's call it a Samsung cell phone like my phone, which comes from South Korea. But South Korea didn't, as far as we know, invent cellular phones. Someone else invented cellular phones and they copied the idea. You know, obviously we've got Apple products from America, the iPhone, which for a long time, I don't know if it still is, because I know they sued them at some point. But I know Apple was getting their parts made in South Korea as well. I think South Korea was copying, violating property rights, intellectual property, and copying some of the ideas. So they sued them at some point. I know there's some of these articles on the internet. So I don't know if South Korea invented cell phones, but they created a great phone called the Samsung phone. I mentioned the example that we get lithium batteries. I think I could be wrong, but Afghanistan is, if not the number one, but one of the biggest suppliers of lithium, which is in batteries that are used in cell phones and used in electric cars, like Elon Musk's Tesla. We've got a mineral called cobalt, which is mined. I don't know if it's in the DRC, but it's somewhere in Africa, of which there have been atrocities, child labor, and those type of things, slave labor, exploited labor that have come up. And the idea that some of the designs may come from anywhere in the world. And I made the example that we have Ukoko, Esther Mahlangu, and Ndebele, international artist, visual artist, who makes these colorful Ndebele art pieces, and how she could collaborate with Samsung, who have collaborated potentially with Afghanistan with the lithium batteries, potentially with the DRC with cobalt, potentially with, let's say, an Italian designer of the phone, and whoever invented the cell phone, collaborate with, if we're going to give it to Thomas Edison, coming up with electricity, collaborate with Thomas Edison, and collaborate with Mam Esther Mahlangu in a colorful Samsung phone, and we bring this phone, which a lot of people in this country will say, yeah, these are white people things. And you're like, they're not. There's actually been human collaboration over many years that have culminated in the phone we have now. I'm speaking to you on YouTube, which was invented by an ex-Google employee. Google has bought up YouTube now, but there was a Google employee who left Google and went and invented YouTube. And a person like myself, a black South African, so to speak, Zulu boy, is now on that platform creating content for other people in South Africa and Africa and the rest of the world to consume. I'm collaborating with the YouTube guys. I'm collaborating with, as much as it pisses us off, I'm collaborating with our energy supplier, Eskom, who are supplying this. I'm collaborating with Telkom, which is my Wi-Fi supplier, to stream this. I'm collaborating with whoever made this jersey. And I'm collaborating with the colonizers who taught us this language of English so that more people can understand me. That's human collaboration. A lot of the collaboration, of course, is not chosen. Colonization is not chosen. Oppression and exploitation is not chosen. But it can happen once you remove the emotions, as painful as they are. It can happen that you can see beautiful outcomes. I'll use an even more controversial and upsetting example. If you look at the rape of Khoi and San women and Xhosa women in the Eastern Cape by white people, whether it's the Dutch, the French, the German, the Afrikaans people, the British, who came and raped. Yes, there were mutual relationships of love. Unfortunately, they're not really well documented because at some point it was illegal for black and white to mix and have children. That's why Trevor Noah has got a book called Born a Crime, because it was a crime for him to be born because his mom was black, his father was white, and it was illegal for them to get together and have sex, have relations, and have a baby. But a lot of the colored people in the Western Cape are a result of rape, where a woman who was maybe a maid, who was maybe a farm worker, was raped by her boss, by her farm boss, by her factory boss, and a colored child came out there. And that colored child, when you look at it, beautiful mixed race child, and one day maybe becomes an amazing rugby player, an amazing singer, an amazing stand-up comedian, whatever the case may be. And today we get to see the beauty of human collaboration, not chosen, but the result thereof. The example I made for my brother was Siya Kolisi, the current Springbok captain, who at some point I loved very much. I love his alma mater, the school he went to, Grey PE, Grey High School for Boys in Port Elizabeth, Gqeberha. Got a couple of friends that come from Grey PE. Brilliant men. So I was a fan of the school. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of rugby, and their rugby brand is sensational in the country. Siya Kolisi went to Grey PE, having been, I think he comes from Motherwell Township, Gqeberha. So he had been unearthed by talent scouts who had found this really talented physical specimen of a black boy who was playing for one of the rugby clubs there. I'm not sure if it was Spring Rose. I think there's two big black rugby clubs at Gqeberha. They found this boy. They gave him a scholarship to go to Grey. When Siya speaks about it, he speaks about how he was so embarrassed because he was still speaking broken English. And there was this white boy who took him under his wing, and he made it his mission to help Siya improve his English. So Siya learned English. He went to this white colonial school. I think it was Sir Earl Grey. It's not really important, but there's a colonialist who built Grey High School in Port Elizabeth and Grey College in Bloemfontein, which is potentially the best school on the African continent, an Afrikaans school. So he learned English. He went to this colonial school. Became a great rugby player. Then went to play for Western Province and the Stormers in the Western Cape. And then, as we know, he became a Springbok captain. And the Springbok captain that went to lift the World Cup, the Webb Ellis Cup in Japan. At some point, Siya Kolisi was interviewed in Japan, asked about his thoughts around quotas. And he said he doesn't believe Nelson Mandela would have approved of quotas. A quota is a number of black players that need to be in a squad or on the field. And I got very upset listening to Siya saying that, because I was like, motherfucker, it's because of quotas that some of us got opportunities to play. Because if there were no quotas, a lot of the white, racist Afrikaans coaches would have never selected us. But because they were forced to select us, they selected us, we were talented. And because we got that platform, we got to play at higher levels and we got to be developed. It's like affirmative actions, like employment equity. Some black people would never get an opportunity at certain platforms if it is not forced, because the guys at the top are so biased in only picking their type of people that they'll never let them in. So I was very upset. And at that time, I was like, Siya Kolisi is actually not a black captain. He's a Springbok captain who happens to be black. I was like, I don't see him as a black leader. He's not Stephen Bantubigo. He's not Robert Mangaliso Sobugwe. He's just a black guy who happened to be good at rugby, who played for the Springboks and became Springbok captain, who happens to be black. As time went on, and Siya Kolisi would tell his story about his upbringing, talk about his dad, and seeing the type of amazing soul that he is, with his wife Rachel, traveling around the world. When he's in interviews, he's got a charisma, a natural raw charisma that people love. He gets along with everyone. I don't think he fights with anyone. He's politically correct. He is on brand. He's brilliant for brands. He's done a lot of ambassador work for so many different companies. He was signed by Rock Nation, Jay-Z in America, who I think are his managers now for talks and whatever. He moved to the Sharks with other great black rugby players, the captain there being Lucanio Am, another Springbok who won the World Cup. Guys like Magazole Mapimpi, who's got a documentary, I think, that's come out about his struggles as a black child in South Africa, but who's now found hope and wealth in rugby. Telling stories about taking another fellow Springbok, Jesse Kriel, who played, I think, at Pietermaritzburg College in KZN, to his home. And Jesse Kriel was there embracing the Xhosa culture, understanding the Xhosa culture. And I remember ex-Springbok coach Alistair Kutsia, who made it a point to take a Muslim player, Nazim Kaur, who'd gone to Bishop's Diocesan College in Cape Town. Nazim Kaur is a Muslim, and they'd taken the entire, I don't know if it was the Western Province or the Stormers team, to go to mosque to get an understanding and a sensitivity of what Islam is about. The beauty of Siya Kolisi as a human being won me over, and I had to take a step back and realize that, I was so fixated about race and not seeing the bigger picture of Kolisi didn't go into politics. Kolisi has never stood on podiums and said, I'm a black leader, follow me. There've been activists in the rugby space, a lot of black rugby players. I know at some point a good mate, Tobani Bobo, an ex-Springbok, has spoken out about some of these things. A white, great rugby player from a very politically charged family, the Watson family, Luke Watson, has fought, even from high school days, for black rugby players. There's been racism. Rugby in this country is still a white Afrikaans space. And white Afrikaans people see it as their home. And they get very funny when even white English people come in. And because I've been so deeply rooted in this rugby journey, I've seen how white English boys have been snubbed at higher levels of rugby because they're seen as pommies, as these British guys. When you go back to the Anglo-Boer War, where the Afrikaans and the English didn't get along. Siya Kolisi never asked to be a politician. He wanted to play rugby, a sport he loves. And in that sport he loves, he made a lot of friends, black friends, white friends, colored friends. And now, from the outside, a lot of us who are poor, black, struggling, who get to deal with racism on a daily basis, expect him to now fight some of his mates, his coaches. A brilliant, racially sensitive coach like Rassie Erasmus, who was a Springbok in his own right back in the day. Now he must fight with Rassie, and he must fight with the heads at SA Rugby, Yuri Roo and the guys, and he must fight with his white teammates. How are you going to build anything great fighting with people who are there for you every day, tackling for you, passing you the ball, giving you constructive criticism so you can get better, playing with you when you guys go on like camps to build team spirit? And I just realized Siya Kolisi is just a guy, man, who was a boy, who came from a township and who's seen the greatest things in life because of this colonial school he went to, because of his white mates, because of this white money. And he's done great things. I know he's got a rugby tournament in the Eastern Cape, which is meant to unearth more black talent. And through his story, the hope is that more black kids can be pulled out of poverty and given the greatest platforms to shine. And once they have those platforms, to plow back into those townships. That's human collaboration. It may not be great. You may not like the English I speak, but it allows me to speak to white people and get them to understand my story and our story. I posted on my Instagram and on YouTube because he has become a friend now, Nhlanhla Lux, one of the leaders of Operation Dudula and the president of Soweto Youth Parliament, telling his story of a Soweto boy, black boy from Soweto, who happened to go to a good school, JP Boys High in Johannesburg, great school, co-ed boys school, not co-ed, sorry, boys school, ex-model C is what I wanted to say. And then got a scholarship to St. David's Marist, which I think is a boys school as well, private boys school in Inanda by Santon. You know, on scholarship, I think for sports and then for sports and academics. And having to straddle both worlds. Having to go to a car, you come from a private school, where you sometimes feel you're not black enough. And then you have to go to these white uppity schools, you know, where you have to try and speak good English and hey, how you doing, Roger? How you doing, bro? Hey, no, I'm good, bro. You know, I was in Soweto over the weekend with my family, you know, we were slaughtering, oh fuck. And there, sometimes you feel you're not white enough, but you understand both worlds. And it gave people like myself, I guess a boy like Nhlanhla, or a gent like Nhlanhla, not a boy because we're sort of the same age. It gave us a view of the struggles of both sides. You're rich, you're white, you come from privilege, but maybe your parents are never around. Maybe your dad is an alcoholic. Maybe your mom is cheating on your dad. You know, you and your siblings don't get along. You know, you're rich. Of course, your life is great. You don't have to worry about where you're going to find food. You don't have to worry about catching a train and 2 taxis to get to school. But you've got your own problems. You're scared for crime. You're scared that black people in the streets are calling you white monopoly capital. And you're like, but we do charity work, bro. And, you know, my dad employs a lot of black people. And, you know, my mom gives back to black churches. Like, nah, fuck that. It's not enough. You come from privilege. And then black people on the other side, they've got drugs and alcohol abuse. And your dad's not around, you know. And your mom maybe's got HIV and she has to take ARVs. And trying to see how we, having seen both worlds and having the sensitivity and the intelligence and the call to leadership for these spaces, how do we build more bridges? Like Nelson Mandela tried to do. And Nelson, like Siya, was another guy who I hated at some point. You're a fucking sellout. You guys should have gone to a civil war. People should have died. But we should have won this country fair. We should have fucking killed the whites and said, this is now our land and we're changing all the names and we're not begging for shit. But an understanding and a sensitivity when you sit with these white people. And you're like, these guys were just following orders from their leaders. Watching doctors today that have to follow orders on COVID because the leaders said so. No, I'm sorry, you have to sanitize. You have to get the vaccine. Yeah, but you realize you're violating my rights. It's not me, it comes from higher up. Just following orders. Following the rule of law. Same law that made apartheid legal, slavery legal. That violates some of our rights today. And the people that are entrusted, the police, who have to lock up people that are violating COVID lockdown protocol. And the doctors that have to jab people with medicine they probably don't personally believe in. And Nelson got to understand that these guys were just miseducated and forced themselves. And a lot of us missed when he spoke about black domination, white domination. He was talking about we need to become human, and more than anything, we need to find good humans. Because I still don't support shitty humans. When I say I'm a non-racialist, I'm not saying I support white racists and oppressive white people. It also doesn't mean I support a corrupt black government or I support black criminals, black vigilantes. No. It means if you're a good person trying to do good, and part of trying to do good may mean doing bad, illegal things. It may mean fighting the system and breaking laws because you're like, but the people are oppressed, dog. Nelson Mandela was a global terrorist. When America speaks about insurgents and terrorists, they were speaking about people like Nelson Mandela and members of the African National Congress and members of the Pan-Africanist Congress of Azania, Robert Sobukwe, people of the Black Consciousness movement like Stephen Bantu Biko. Having sat with Andile Mngxitama of the BLF Black First Land First movement, I found out that Steve Biko was never a member of the PAC. He was just the leader of the Black Consciousness movement. These guys had to violate laws and they were arrested. Some were beaten, some were tortured, some were killed. Pushing them to create what we call guerrilla military groups, because these are nice terms that the people that are in power use when they speak about the Taliban, insurgents, Al-Qaeda. They speak about groups they don't like and they push propaganda through the media of people that are like, you're not doing right by us. Umkhonto wesizwe, the Azanian People's Liberation Army, the military wing of the PAC, of which some of those guys are still in jail because the ANC has refused to forgive them at the TRC at Desmond Tutu. They didn't forgive these guys in freedom who are fighting for the liberation of black people. Having to do bad illegal things because you're like, but understanding that they are good people. Human collaboration, Siya Kolisi. Elon Musk, a white South African, left Pretoria Boys, left, he went to Tux, the University of Pretoria for a bit. He went overseas, initially in Canada and then in America, studied there, learned, went and he built PayPal with guys like Peter Thiel, Reid Hoffman of LinkedIn. Obviously today, he's one of the heads of Tesla, SpaceX. He didn't invent rockets. He didn't invent electric cars. He didn't invent electricity. But through human collaboration, through people that have over the years added just their bit, and his whole journey to get people to Mars is, he knows that he's going to fail. And he says it, we're going to fail. But the whole point is Thomas Edison, 1,000 experiments. We're going to try and, if the journey to Mars is going to take 100 steps, we're going to, and we're 5 steps ahead because we've been to the moon, which I don't believe. We've been to the moon, we've been to space. He's saying if that's step 10 of 100, I want to move us to at least step 15 or 20 so that future generations can say, oh, these guys created electricity. We don't have to do that anymore. These guys created cell phones. We don't have to do that anymore. These guys created rockets. We don't have to do that anymore. We can take on what they've done and we can build on it. And it's not about race. When you study history and you study the Greeks and you study the Egyptians and you study the Chinese, the Mongolians, when you study the Americans, the explorers, the Christopher Columbuses of this world, the Jan van Riebeecks, when you study African guys, Mansa Musa, when you study people like Ushaga, these were people that were trying to move humanity forward. There's no need to wear Beshu today, Zulu attire, because we got different clothing. You can choose to not wear it, of course, that's your prerogative. You can choose to go and live in a mud hut, that's your prerogative. But there's now a 4-room house which has got a heater, which your South African black people didn't create. You've got electricity, which your South African people didn't create. And we built Eskom thanks to people like Hendrik van der Bijl, who I think was commissioned by Jan Smuts, who was the Prime Minister of South Africa. And we're like, guys, use what these guys have created and push it further. Take this architecture that was brought by these people, by people like Sir Herbert Baker, who built the Union buildings, who built St. John's College, I think Hilton College, I think St. George's Cathedral. Build on it and get the black kids, Themba Buthelezi, get Sisa Ngebulana, who are going to learn from those guys and say, these guys have created stuff. How can I, like Mam Esther Masham, create more stuff and maybe add an African flair? And all of a sudden you travel to China, Japan, you travel to Europe, and you're like, oh my gosh, this is African architecture. It's a collaboration of European, Egyptian, Italian, and then there's a taste of Africa. You can see it. Like when we speak about Dutch architecture in the Western Cape, That's human collaboration, and it's so beautiful once you understand it like I understand it. Kanye West, one of my favorite heroes in the world, one of my favorite human beings, along with people like Leonardo da Vinci, believes in sampling in music. Let me take from old school music, just like abafana bongani fasi bejuza babelanda uvusiqimba umbhaqanga. Wayithini mame? Mayengiyala. What's with the attitude? Why you gotta be rude? Collaboration, sampling, taking old sounds, taking sounds from different genres. Let me bring in some rock, let me bring in some gospel. Kanye brings in some choirs. He's worked with Daft Punk, Pharrell Williams, he's worked with white producers. He's made emotive music, he's made gospel music. And he's created these sets that are futuristic, rock infused. He's made cover art, which is designed by Japanese anime, which is sick. If you look at people like Skrillex, who was one of my favorite producers and music makers, he's made work with South Koreans, with people in Europe, people in America. He's won Grammy Awards. Shout out to Manu Black Coffee on winning his first Grammy Award at the recent Grammy Awards, which were presented by the South African Trevor Noah. These are guys that are collaborating. Black Coffee collaborated with David Guetta, a European guy. When I think of Hollywood, in Hollywood, some of your favorite stars are not even American. If you think of, I think Heath Ledger, the late Heath Ledger, who was the Joker in Batman. A person like Russell Crowe is from Australia. I believe this lady Nicole Kidman is from Australia. Christian Bale, I think, might be British. I know Keanu Reeves was not born in America. I think Bruce Willis was not born in America. We've got Charlize Theron, brilliant female actress from Benoni in South Africa. There's some Nigerian actors there. A guy like Idris Elba is British, but his parents, I think one might be Nigerian and another one from another African country. Seal, whose family is actually not European. That's collaboration, and you take the greatest minds and you send them to the best spaces and they collaborate. In Silicon Valley, there are so many Asians, so many Indian and Chinese people who are there working in collaboration. You'll find that at the Google headquarters. You're like, Google, this white American. A lot of the IT technicians there, the coders, the programmers, guys that are going to tell you, I'm from India, I'm from Pakistan, I'm from Bangladesh. Nah, dog, I come from Kenya. No, I come from Libya. No, I come from Turkey. And they're coming together and they're creating cool shit. And it's called an American brand because it's in America. And it gets given these white faces. Larry Page and Sergey Brin, the guys that founded Google. I don't know if both of them or just one of them are actually born of immigrant parents. They're not even from America. You know what I mean? Like, the white people in America are not from America. The Spanish guys, there's Italians, there's Irish. The black people there, LeBron James, the Williams sisters, Serena and Venus. You know, those are people that, again, collaboration that wasn't chosen. Some of their forefathers were dragged through slavery to go work in the cotton fields there. And the outcome were these amazing, talented, like I think of Pharrell made a song. Is it Freedom? Is the song called Freedom? Is it Pharrell? Is it Jay-Z? Pharrell, Jay-Z? Shit, I'm not sure. There's a Pharrell song where I think it touches on entrepreneurship and making money. And at the end, there's all these black creators. And I think it's two guys, black American guys who have anime studios in Japan. I've been waiting for like Africans or black South Africans who have got factories in China who are making textiles. I want to see black people in Europe making Maskandi music fused with electro. Like, the world it's our oyster and we can do such amazing things if we just remove the emotions, remove this race bullshit that was obviously brought on by supremacists who had an agenda to colonize and oppress the world, and move past. And when I look back on my life, I realized I've been able to admire Adolf Hitler, King Leopold of Belgium, Cecil John Rhodes, not because of the atrocities, but because of some of the cool things they created. Adolf Hitler was a painter. I can look at his artworks and be like, I think I want to paint like this. He commissioned the Volkswagen, VW, from Ferdinand Porsche, a guy who went on to create his own car brand of Porsche or Porsche. That's human collaboration. Hugo Boss, clothing. They were designing the Nazi uniform. These are stories of things you can learn from people. And you're like, you had Virgil Abloh, who we lost, RIP to Virgil, who was working with Kanye, who was taken by, I think, Louis Vuitton to go be a designer there. A gentleman that I know, my last born son, Nyanga's mother, her cousin, Lucanio Mdini, is now an international designer. Lucanio Mdini, he won a competition for Louis Vuitton. He was working with guys like Virgil Abloh, and he's based in Cape Town. He's amazing. No, Lucanio must be like, I don't want to work with Europeans. These are white people. They are... No, dog. No, dog. And luckily, he's futuristic. He's intelligent. He's got great designs. He imports his material from all over the world so that we can collaborate and do great things. For me, that's the power of penalism. The idea that you transcend race, transcend gender, transcend nonsense. I said I want to touch on Julius Malema, and part of it is transcending political parties. Nhlanhla Lux and I both agree that politics currently is not going to take our people forward. Yesterday, I was speaking at someone who was working at the airport in Durban. He had me for 30 minutes telling me he's so thankful for my videos, for the education. He's like, dog, we need youth movements that are devoid of politics, where young people who are visionary, who want solutions for this country are coming together. And he said, like you and Nhlanhla Lux, Andile Mngxitama's trolled me because I've taken pictures with Robert Harrisov, a wealthy white man who wants to work with me. Oh, you've been captured. Jacob Zuma collaborated with the Guptas and the Reddies and the Sheikhs. We can argue what they did, whether it was legally legal, what was the outcome? Were people helped? Did they create great things? Andile Mngxitama trolled me. I said to them last week, we collaborated, we spoke. I told him I'm a huge fan of his. I'm a huge fan of his leadership. We may not agree on certain ideologies, but I understand that he speaks for certain people that need a voice, and he is necessary. Kanye West hosted February, which is Black History Month in America. He wants to rebrand and call it Black Future Month. What is the future of black? And he sat there with black creatives and journalists and content creators and everything. We appreciate Harriet Tubman. We appreciate Marcus Garvey. We appreciate Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X and all the other great people that have taken us to where we are today. Chris Hani. One of Chris Hani's, I don't know if it's his daughter or his granddaughters, has reached out to me. I'm going to be meeting up with someone from the Hani family because I'm collaborating with YouTube, with Facebook, who block me every now and then, with Twitter. DJ Spoo, a huge role model of mine, reached out to me. I'm working with him. We've created something. I came up with an idea on the spot while we were filming and said, you've got the Hustlers Corner. This is like Mkuku. This is the virtual Mkuku. And he's like, let's create it. We're going to create our own channel called the Virtual Mkuku. We invited Nhlanhla Lux. We've invited Andile Mngxitama. I'm looking forward to who else we're going to have there. That's human collaboration. And I can do it with black minds, with black, what we call radicalists like Andile, with black spiritual leaders who is deemed a foreigner, Joshua Maponga. I can work with white people like Rob Hersov. I think that's what Nelson Mandela was trying to be. I think that's what Cyril Ramaphosa was meant to be, but they've kind of lost it. They've lost it because people are so focused on making money and maximizing profits that they've forgotten that we've got human capital and ideas and ideologies in this country. That one of my ideas is creating these spaces where black people can go back to living like our forefathers, because the capitalist system is spitting them out, and living in a shack is mentally imprisoning them. They're living like cockroaches and rats. And I'm like, let's create these eco-friendly spaces, not rich eco estates for white people with solar roof and all this borehole. No, I'm saying, let's just go back to nature, man, like Avatar, where people are picking water from the river. It gives them work to do. They fetch their own water. You know, they make fires. They create. We go back to creating benches. We go back to creating weapons, whether it's a nopkiri, and where possible, once we have these eco villages where people can grow their own food, Then we gently, what was meant to happen with the post-apartheid project, gently begin saying, we'll bring you some electricity, we'll see how you guys can do for self, let's see how we can create African weapons, guns, maybe a nopkiri that shoots lasers. If you're building a hut, can we take this to, Kanye West is building these churches that are domes, because there's something that happens in the summer and the winter with the cold and the sun, with the cold and the hot in circular structures. How do we incorporate and infuse that? Sit with izinyanga, the herbalists, what we call traditional African herbalists, get them in a room, get Western medication in a room and see how can we, shout out to Kandani Msibi, one of my mentors who runs 360. He managed to package umhlonyana, which was a solution to COVID, and he got it into stores. How do we sit with herbalists and Western medicine and collaborate and not have big pharmaceuticals bullying everyone and say, no, we want to create our own African medicines and help them package and help them formalize and regulate them, but on their terms, not on white terms or Western terms, on their terms. We were like, we also don't want bogus izinyanga here because they give people the wrong medicine, umuti, and people get sick or they die. How do we do that? I said on a clip yesterday while speaking to Andile Mnutama when I was with Smoo, we're in the greatest time of our lives now because not only can we create futuristic things like electric cars, we can create flying cars. We can create a new type of cell phone. We can create social media platforms, alternative media, social media which competes with traditional media. We've got poor black kids who for the first time can tell their stories with a phone and free Wi-Fi. Free Wi-Fi is one of the things we should be fighting for aggressively in this country because it's going to unlock and decentralize education, which has been commodified. Fees must fall. Commodified YouTube has been a game changer for me. Wikipedia, Google, the Khan Academy. People that come onto my platform and learn from me. Free Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi, free Wi-Fi. And I'm saying if we can create all these cool things, why are we not creating new languages that make communication easier? How do I fuse English with Mandarin so that even if you speak English only or you speak Mandarin only, there's somewhere where we can meet each other halfway? Should we move from language to sign language, where if I show you this, it doesn't matter what language you speak, you know that this is a heart or this is love. If I show you this, it doesn't matter what language you speak, you know that this is either the number 2 or it means peace. You know, if I touch on my heart or I bow and I close my eyes, like this guy is saying thank you. Should we be going to sign or can we merge certain words so that we can speak to each other? We have fanagalo from the mind, we have tsotsitan. Why are we not inventing new languages? Penal is creating penalism, which is a new religion. Hinduism is over 4,000 years old. Christianity, I think, is over 2,000 years old. They cool. I appreciate them. Like the journey to Mars, they took beliefs and spirituality up to a certain point. I'm saying I want to take it to a next point. And someone says, I've read penalism principles, but this is some of the stuff that I've read in other holy scriptures. I'm like, yeah, dog. Isn't that exciting? That means like, I didn't have to invent anything new. I could take what Jesus was saying, talking about love, and say, let's love. I can take what Prophet Muhammad was saying, and I can implement it. I can take Buddha and the state of nirvana and understanding minimalism and connecting with the world. I can take African spirituality and living with Mother Nature and infuse that and create something new, dog, and sample the story of David and Goliath, the story of Samson and Delilah, King Solomon the Great with his many wives. God, hella bitches call me Solomon. Shout out to MT. Collaboration, human collaboration. Julius Malema, and I haven't watched this interview that he did with Sophie Mkwe, I saw a clip calling Operation Tutula Small Kids. That clip, I understand it's a sound bite, it's clickbait, it's sad. I'm gonna watch it for context, but he's gone on platforms. The EFF helped get Unhlanhla Lux arrested. He is becoming the same ANC elders that kicked him out, that didn't recognize him, that didn't see a young man who was willing to lead and who just said, bring me close. And he's shunning Unhlanhla Lux, who has told him, I'm happy to sit with Julius. This guy was our hero. People like him Mbuyiseni Ndlozi, Floyd Shibambu, when they speak about Peter Mukaba, when they speak about Nelson Mandela, who their youth were also burning. But now Julius has now changed his tune and not recognizing, hey, this kid is like me. I was like this. I was fiery. I was hot. Let me bring him closer. We speak about being captured, and I'm like, if white people are capturing us, if Indians are capturing us, where are the black people capturing us? A lot of us would love to sit with you because we'd love to serve you. But if you're going to keep creating these divisions, yeah, we saw Penal take a picture of Rob Hersoff. We heard him speaking Afrikaans in a video. This guy's gone. He's a sellout. You've lost me. I could have been of such great use to you because Rob Hersoff runs an investment fund. He's got many other business associates, not just in South Africa, on the African continent, in the world, that can plug you in. And you can become a Black Coffee. And you can become a Trevor Noah. And you can become a Charlize Theron. You can become an Elon Musk. Whether you're black, white, colored, it doesn't matter. You can become a Siya Kolisi. But you've closed yourself off. And yet you speak English and you're complaining on Twitter, on Facebook, these platforms that are not African. And you refuse to go back to wearing African clothing. You refuse to go live in the huts. You want to make money. And yet, through cognitive dissonance, these clashing ideas and your hypocrisy, you don't see what's happening here. We're trying to find solutions. And if Rob Hersoff and his people who want to create an independent Western Cape are wrong, let's go sit with them. Let's go sit with them and explain why we don't agree. And not just be like, you're a colonizer. No, dog. The guy wants to preserve his wealth. We understand he's privileged. Any rich black person, you could be earning 20,000. And I'm like, you're privileged. Give away half your salary. You'd be like, and I'm like, I understand you're privileged, but please understand, if you don't share, you're going to be a victim of crime tomorrow because someone is desperate. And that desperate person becomes mentally fucked. They become mentally fucked. They go into drugs. They go into alcohol. They're going to come rape you. They're going to come kill you. So let's meet each other halfway. Black person earning 20,000. No, go to Rob. I'm speaking to him too. How do we create jobs? How do we get other people to work? How do we get white people to the table? Johan Rupert reached out a hand at Given Curry's, the chairman's talk, I think, 1 year. And we dragged him. We trolled him, we dragged him, we bashed him. He was extending a hand, telling Given Curry, bring talented black people to sit with me. I'll bring my white people, my white monopoly capital friends. Let's sit and see what we can do. And we bashed him. And today, I think he spends most of his time in Switzerland. And I can only imagine some of his companies, if now I have to ask, should we retrench? We don't know if he's still got that passion for South Africans. He might be like, fuck, retrench. Why the fuck must we create jobs for people that don't really care? He's got an NPO, which is helping black people in the Western Cape get title deeds for their properties. Something that the Zulu Kingdom refuses. For valid reasons. They say Zulu people are going to go and put these properties as collateral at the banks. They won't be able to pay. The banks are going to take their land. And I'm saying, okay, that's the problem. Here's the solution. Let's educate Zulu people on the importance of private land ownership. Why you mustn't clumsily go take out loans and lose your land. Let's educate them, but don't now keep the land for yourself, Zulu monarch, because that's a form of bullying. We're smart, we understand. Yes, we know white people came with private land ownership. We know how they can manipulate the system so they can take our land. We know that. We're intelligent enough. We've straddled both lands, both worlds. But if you guys want to live in a white world, if you want to work with money, if you're getting 70, 80 million rand a year from the government through tax that is paid by these white companies, and then you don't want your people to understand private land ownership within this constitution, this democracy, this global economy, and you want to keep to your land, it's a form of bullying. And you're miseducating your people and you're not being genuine. You're not being genuine. And let's sit. One of my calls, and I've heard this somewhere, I don't know who to credit for it, we need a CODESA 2.0. We need to come back to the table. Nelson Mandela's dead. Oliver Reginald Tambo's dead. Walter Sisulu's dead. Oh, Mama. Or Adelaide Tambo. They've passed on. Oh, Mam Winnie Madikizela. They've passed on. Desmond Tutu's passed on. And those are our grandparents, not even our parents. Our parents are people like Zuma, Nabo Ramaphosa, Nabo Mamlindi Sisulu. It's us now. And we're saying we'd like to come to the table again. We don't want to fight because we've gone to your schools, we live in your neighborhoods, we chat good English, we play rugby with the boy cheese on the weekend. We say, look, we don't really have to fight you, but there's angry black people, dog. I go to Ekasi, I go to the villages, black people are angry. It's going to explode in looting and rioting. It's going to explode in Operation Tutula. It's going to explode in xenophobia. We're saying, let's sit together. We've seen that there are certain interests that are common. We've seen on the AfriForum. Oh, you guys also agree there's a problem with the borders. Oh, you guys also agree there's a problem with drugs and crime. You guys also don't like crime. We don't like crime. You guys don't like alcohol. Fuck, we don't like alcohol abuse. You guys think the government's corrupt? Shit. If the government wasn't corrupt, you'd be able to do more. The RDPs are in bad state. The roads have potholes. Your car, black man, is being fucked by the same pothole that the rich white man's car is being fucked with. Let's come together and let's find solutions. If it's not in politics, because politicians are so fucking fixated with power, let's find it in civil groups like AfriForum. Let's find it in other alternative spaces, but let's come together and bring people to a table and bring minds like Penwell, bring minds like Nhlanhla Lux, bring Nompendulo Mkhatshwa from Fees Must Fall, bring, I think, Ubongi Kanyile, bring Andile Mnitam, bring Julius Malema, even though I'm really saddened by what's happening, bring Mbuyiseni Dlozi, bring Nsiki Mazwai, bring some of the celebrities, bring a person like Vusi Thembiwayo, bring white people, bring Steve Hofmeyer, you know, bring some of the white Afrikaans, the Siya Kolisis, the Dwayne Vermeulen, bring these guys to a table and say, guys, what do we actually want for this country? What do we actually want for our people? Bring some of the Muslims, bring the Chinese, bring the Pakistanis, be like, hey, I think some of you are undocumented. Your spaza shops are great. You know, you guys are serving, you know, you're serving the community, but we're not happy with the way you're doing it. Is there a way we can make it work? You guys forced your way in here the same way white people forcefully raped our black women to create colors. But now that you're here, you have to play ball. We're going to force you to give 50% of your spaza shop to a black person. And there must be a black person next to you and you must transfer skills. And we're going to hold you guys accountable and we're going to host workshops. And you guys at some point are going to have to pay reparations, just like white people have to pay reparations, which they haven't. You're going to have to pay reparations for being here illegally and for sucking from the black economy or the black communities and sending your money to Pakistan, Bangladesh, to China, to Vietnam, to South Korea, to some of your African countries if you came here. Your country's living large of money that you took here without our permission. Take money with our permission. We've got our companies there, but we did it through permission. So do the same, and if not, bring back some of our money, but let's collaborate and see if we can work. Once we get to there, we can even begin looking at removing some of the borders because we know how to kind of manage who's here, who's not, you know. If you look at the airports as an example of somewhere I was at, you can't go over to the other side until you've presented your ticket. I'm South African. I'm in South Africa, but there's a part of the airport I can't access without permission. If I go to Stain City now, I can't just drive into Stain City, even though it's South Africa. It's in South Africa and I'm South African. I can't go into certain estates. I can't go into the Kruger National Park. So maybe we can create spaces like an independent Western Cape, like an Orania, like some of the black communities that are closed off. Maybe we need to create spaces where we're like, look, if we can fence off. One of the projects that I think will be cool to discuss is creating gated communities around townships, where the people in the township are like, just like a Stain City and an Orania, we're going to build fencing around you. We're going to come together as a collective. We're going to get leaders, young leaders in particular, not politics, not looking for votes, not looking for funders for political campaigns. We're going to create stockpiles, fundraise for ourselves, build fences. We're going to then put security guards. And then the businesses in here are going to be businesses that are either owned by locals or businesses that we've approved of, which these guys can come operate here because they give back to the community. Then after that, you're like, you can remove the borders because we've created some way of living, but we need to come to a table. Did BEE work? Largely no. Affirmative action, employment equity? No. Have white people successfully transferred skills? No. Got people like Osel Ramaphosa that was sitting on 18 boards, and I don't even think he was qualified, and I don't know if he's gotten the skills transfer. And has he passed on those skills transfer to other black kids so that they are board ready, so that they can run companies? Or has he monopolized it to his family, Utumelo no Andile Ramaphosa, so that they can win on their own? Has Jacob Zuma made sure that other black people have succeeded, or is it just his kids, Ututuzani, or Ukuku at Stained Class Productions, which does Uzalo, Durban Jen, the wife, Umashom. Are we working together? Or these guys monopolize these spaces for themselves? And they're happy to work with whites because they find, but what about the rest of the people? What about the rest of the people? Let's sit down, let's talk. What has been achieved? You guys kill people, let's be honest. Do people need to be punished? Have you guys said sorry? Can we work on a reparation thing? And the reparation doesn't have to be money. You're a white farmer, transfer skills, upskill your workers, and we'll hold you accountable and we'll have a time frame. And if you're not transferring, we'll remove you. If you're transferring the skills and the people that work on your farm are learning and they're going to become contributors and they will in effect be comfortable enough to buy the farm, or you will give it to them happily. And one of the most important things I thought about last week is I don't know if fundamentally I will ever, as time goes on, be fully comfortable working with a white person, specifically a white person, but I'll go to Indian and Chinese as well, and even foreign African. I don't know if I'll fully be fully comfortable to work with those people until they're comfortable to let us sleep with their sons and their daughters. It's a deep one. It's very important. Mr. Van der Merwe is happy to get me as a BEE front. Mr. Van der Merwe is happy for me to come and work with him on his farm. We sit on a board together. Maybe we went to school together and he respects my brain. Oh, I see in Penwell, he's baie slim, hoor. You know, he's a baie goeie man. It's nice for you, Van der Merwe. We're working together, we're making money together, we laugh. We go and watch rugby together, the Blue Billa, we go watch the Sharks or the Pumas. It's fine, that's nice. You can sit with your family and be friends with your family, great friends. Friends with your sons, friends with your daughters, friends with your wife. I even get to kiss your wife on the cheeks. That's how friendly we are. But are you happy with me sleeping with your daughter, impregnating your daughter, making babies with your daughter, so that we can solidify our union? Why? If we're serious, Cyril Ramaphosa must go have a Rupert child. Patrice Motsepe must go have a child with the Oppenheimers. That's how we show non-racialism and that we want to work together. Obviously, there has to be love and what, but you must be comfortable to say that. And until you're comfortable, that means you're not really serious about us being unified. And for me, that actually might be the clincher for this term called unity. Because I always say you can't be united with people that don't share your values. Forget race. But if we don't share the same values and ideals, we can't build anything together. And even if we do, it's going to crumble. But maybe the thing is, are you willing to let our families breed with each other? Because then I'll know that you're serious about us being together. It came out the other day that I think Queen Elizabeth is not even British herself. She came from somewhere else. You've got Prince Harry, who's married a mixed child, Meghan Markle from America. These are foreigners. When we speak about foreigners, Andile Ramaphosa, Cyril Ramaphosa's child, son rather, is married to a Ugandan lady. Jacob Zuma has got, I think, 5 children. 2 being Ututuzani, the twins Tutuzani and Tutuzile, with a Mozambican woman. The Tutuzani that you guys love so much had a Mozambican mother, a foreigner. Nelson Mandela was with Graça Machel, a Mozambican woman. Hugh Masekela was married to, I don't know if it was a Ghanaian woman. Like, the collaboration and the conversations, we're not having them. Tonto Sikhwale was married to a white woman. He's got colored children. Siya Kolisi that we're speaking about is with a Rachel Kolisi, a white woman. Brian Habana has got a white woman. So are you comfortable that I can sleep with your kids? Because you claim to love me and you respect me. Penal's so great. Let me breed with your children and let's solidify our union. Because if not me, then my children, your grandchildren, will inherit. My grandchildren or your grandchildren that are half Oppenheimer, your grandchildren that are half Rupert. Now we can start speaking about nation building. Uniting. I know back in the day, some tribes when they were fighting would get the son and the daughter to marry to show unity, a Romeo and Juliet type, even though that wasn't chosen. To show unity, which we are now sibumbene. Because if our children are together and they're having kids, how can we fight? We are family now. Let us, same with blacks, let the white person say, we want to build with you, but we'd like to sleep with your children. If you're a woman, I'm a white woman. I want to build with you. Can I get a black man? I want to have his children, and we build. And we do that here, and we do it across the world so that your children can have dual citizenship. You've got great children like Naomi Osaka, who's got a black father and a Japanese mom. Dave Chappelle, great guy, has got an Asian woman. His kids are mixed. These are conversations we're not having. They're controversial, they're whatever. We're so fixated with identity politics. You're black. You're, what religion are you? And I'm like, I don't think that's going to take us forward. Penalism is about being futuristic, and it's about human collaboration, which is why I made this video. I'm going to stop there. It's Penuel the Black Pen. It's raining in Johannesburg. I hope you guys are warm wherever you are. Hope you guys are blessed. I believe very much in hard work. Doesn't matter whether you have a job or not. You wake up in the morning, you make your bed, you clean up the house, you wash the dishes, you gym your body. If you can't be building anything, at least build a good body. And you go out there and you look for problems that you can solve. Is there something leaking? Is there a leaking tap? Is there someone who needs help with fixing a car? Go look for work. I believe in people that love hard work. I believe in people that can see through surface level and find the character of the other man and build with the other man. I believe in human collaboration. I believe in a global economy. I believe in a global community. I know a lot of people are not going to jump on this, and I'm speaking obviously from a place of privilege. I fully acknowledge that. But I'm trying to find people like me who maybe are privileged like me, who understand, so that we can create spaces where the underprivileged, the disadvantaged can benefit from some of our cool ideas, where they know they don't need to have a job to feed themselves. They can grow their own food. So they know that even if they don't have money, if you're a father who has a baby mama somewhere, you don't need money to be present in your child's life. Go plant food with your child, harvest food with your children, teach your children how to speak language, how to tell stories, how to whistle. Teach your child how to sing. Your child might be the next Doja Cat. Half South African child, Babako Crocodile. Mom is a white Jewish lady from America. So the child can at any given time have dual citizenship and come to South Africa. You know, what are we doing to drive the world forward? How are we taking leadership of ourselves, of our communities, and moving ourselves as a people forward? I love you guys very much. I hope to connect with you soon. I'll keep trying these YouTube lives. And if this works, then maybe I'll be here full time and I'll move away from Facebook, or I'll do both. Look forward to engaging with you guys soon. I love you. Cheers.